Welcome to Lawyers Without Billboards, where we break down family law and other areas of the law. No gimmicks, no legal jargon, just real, unfiltered talk from real lawyers. Join your hosts, Steve, Patty, Jimmy, and Alexa, partners at Shewmaker Lewis, a law firm based in Atlanta, Georgia. Every episode, they tackle the legal questions that matter most: divorce, custody, child support, alimony, and everything in between. They'll pull back the curtain to give you real insights on what happens inside the courtroom and beyond.
All right, we're back. Alexa and Jimmy Lewis, my law partners, and my wife Patty and I, we're back for another episode of Lawyers Without Billboards. Here to talk to you about various family law topics in the Atlanta metro area. And I think today, I got to tell you, we just had an earthquake.
This morning.
I was upstairs and the building shook, and I looked out the window for tornadoes, but it was in fact an earthquake. How about that? It was an earth-shaking event.
How about that?
How about that? What is our topic today?
All right. Hold on to your seats, guys. Today we're going to talk about what not to wear to court. You wouldn't think that we would have to talk about this, right?
Oh, say it isn't so.
You think. However.
But there's a reason we have to talk about this. And I'm going to ask you guys a question, and this will illustrate why we have to talk about this. What's the craziest thing that you've seen someone wear to court? And let's start with litigants, not the attorneys. We'll talk about the attorneys in a second.
Start with Jimmy.
All right.
Litigants. Recently, I was in court in Gwinnett County, and I saw a woman wearing a pink sequin dress with a very open back, and matching. They were slippers, basically.
Like house slippers?
Kind of, but
were they were like the fuzzy ones, like with all like the pink fuzz?
There was no fuzz, but they were the same pink sequin shade.
Oh, wow.
It was a sight to behold.
So
And
was it a dress or a nightgown?
to be honest, I don't know.
If it matched the slippers.
Who can say?
Wow.
But she wore it in public to court.
Awesome.
How about you, Alex?
I was in Clayton County a few years ago for a TPO, and there was a gentleman who was representing himself in a wife beater, which was very apropos. And
Does everybody know what a wife beater is?
white ribbed tank top, kind of low cut, very thin straps, and a pair of shorts. And when he was questioned by the judge about his attire, he explained that he was walked out of the house with what he had on. So that's all he had with him.
Oh, God.
Bless his heart.
Yeah, but what about you, Steve?
Well, okay, you've heard this before. About 20 years ago, when I worked in the Newton County District Attorney's Office, a guy comes in. He's charged with a crime, and he posted a bond. The judge granted him a bond. He posted a bond, and I don't know how much it was from memory, but let's just say it was $5,000. And he'd filed a motion with the court because he wanted to get some of his bond money back. I don't know, to pay his light bill or whatever. So he comes into court on his motion to modify his bond to get his money back, and you're going to laugh at me and you're going to say I'm making this up. He walks into court with a T-shirt on that says "Self-Made Millionaire."
What'd the judge say to that?
I don't think he got any of his money back.
Probably not. Patty, what about you?
You got the run-of-the-mill, women wearing very low-cut
I have a story
tops.
about that in a moment.
Guys
Same.
wearing pants that fall down, which is never a good look for court.
No.
Yeah, what's your story, Jimmy?
So this wasn't, not me personally, but this guy
This
I know.
guy I know.
Sure.
So
Wait, let me blow the bullshit can. Go ahead, tell us about what you
You
did.
know
this
she
week.
hates the bullshit can.
So what this actually was another attorney telling me a story about how they were in court one time, and a woman came in and turned everyone's head in the courtroom that they were just all like, wow. And she had a lot going on up top and was showing it off. And the judge came in and the lady got called up. It was some very, very limited criminal stuff. And the lady's crying. The judge was like, what's wrong? And she goes, I thought you were going to be a guy.
Oh,
So female judge. Got it.
So female judge came out, and the lady's crying because I thought you were going to be a guy.
Awesome.
There's some very
Awesome.
inappropriate things I could say right now, and I am going to exercise forbearance and self-control.
Guys,
Yeah,
it happened.
Magic.
Celebration. Hey, Rob, can you throw in a sound effect for that?
Like cheers.
No, I have had the client, show up, and this was mediation, court-ordered mediation at the courthouse. I mean, she did show up in a sundress that I think was like opened up almost to her belly button.
Oh my God.
And even I was distracted, like, you are falling out.
Oh, I have another story.
And-
I have a couple.
And the problem was she was doing that because she was she didn't want to be divorced, and she was kind of trying to be like, look,
Here's what you're gonna miss out on.
don't you want this?
Did he even see her?
No,
Of course not.
But then the mediator pulled me aside. He's like, "Wow, yeah, even I'm kind of distracted."
So,
Can we just get her a
so
sweatshirt?
one of our associates had me go to court with her. This was a couple years ago, and I was like, "All right, what does our client look like?" And she was like, "You'll recognize her when you see her." I didn't really know what that meant, but I turned the corner, and again, it was a female, a lot going on up top, had them hanging out, and I literally, I had a legal pad in my hand, and I was like, hey, I just put it up like this, because it was also one of those that I then look at our associate, I was like, did you talk to her about what to wear and what not to wear? Because
I'm sure
that's
Patty-
not what she should be wearing in court.
I'm sure Patty will get to that
We
as we
will,
go.
but
Yeah.
Okay, what does it matter? Why does it matter what our clients wear?
Well, and I do think that this.
No, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I do think that it matters to the judge. A lot of times it matters to the judge. I've absolutely had, it's been 2 now, pro se litigants on the other side. They were both gentlemen wearing shorts. One was kicked out, told he had to go home and change, and he ended up having to pay my attorney's fees for us having to sit and wait for him to go put pants on.
Okay, that's a good
And-
story, good point.
Well, and then I had another judge who, shout out to Paulding County, they have pants. So, gentleman came in, I swear to you,
it's like daycare.
dude came in wearing
You
shorts.
soil your pants? Here, we have another
We
pair
have
for
extra
you.
pants.
Oh, stop. Are you telling me that Paulding County keeps pants
Yes.
on file for people who show up in shorts?
100%, yes. I was there for a hearing in a custody modification case.
Well, shout out to Judge Bucci up there. Good
was
job
Judge
on you.
Bucci,
It's
actually.
probably, it might be their lost and found box.
I don't know.
Are they
but
orange? Because
No.
if they're orange, then they're not lost and found.
Listen, black pants. They sent the opposing party out. They gave him a pair of pants. He came back in wearing pants.
Well,
Can I interject?
Yeah, of
Because you
course.
asked the question and I didn't
Yeah.
have a chance to answer. It falls into 2 general categories. Stuff so bad that you can't get into the courthouse, which could be I have at various points in time, I think, seen courthouse security that says you can't come in here in a T-shirt or you can't come in here in shorts. And you're saying you've seen it in the courtroom.
Yeah.
And so if you can't even get in the door, there's your problem, number 1. Number 2, you may hit the courtroom and the judge may actually reprimand you walking in. A good example is Judge Irwin, he's a great judge, Rockdale County out on the southeast side of Atlanta, and he's now a senior judge. But for a long time, he ruled the roost down there in Rockdale, and he ran a very tight courtroom. And he could be in the middle of a sentence. It could be about the most complex legal stuff in the world. And in mid-sentence, if he saw somebody break the door and come into his courtroom with a shirt that's untucked, he could be like, let me tell you about this motion to suppress and how I feel about this case you cited. Oh, sir, you need to tuck your shirt in. Go outside and tuck your shirt in. And then I was saying to y'all about this motion to suppress. So you could get hit by the judge, or you could not get hit by the judge. The judge could just sit there and look at you and be disgusted with you,
Right.
or the attorney who doesn't dress properly.
well, we're going to talk about attorneys in a second.
Right.
But I mean, you are correct, right? So, what are some of the things that judges will correct litigants when they come in the courtroom? Either send them out to get pants or tuck their shirt in. One thing I've seen a lot is hats,
Yes, for
hoodies.
sure.
If you have them up,
Take the hat off.
take the hat off, take the hoodies down.
Pull your pants up.
pull
That's
your
a
pa-
big
I've
one.
seen that.
Pull your pants up.
Pull
yeah.
your pants up.
Yeah.
A lot less with women, I feel like.
Well, I'm glad you said that because it was on my mind. I know Kim DeMickey, who's of counsel to Shewmaker and Lewis, has talked about a particular female judge who's no longer on the bench who would reprimand ladies if they didn't dress up to her standard. And I actually take a slightly different feel from that than Kim does. Kim, I think, was irritated by it. I like it because I'll tell you right now that I don't think most male judges won't say anything to a female, whether it be a party or a lawyer. They just won't say anything to them. And I don't think enough female judges do, because I'm going to tell you, men generally, I know Jimmy has a couple of exceptions, one fairly recent one that I saw myself. Men generally are in a suit and tie, generally.
You're talking about the attorneys.
I'm talking about the attorneys. But female attorneys have a much broader range of what they wear and think is acceptable.
Yeah.
I agree.
About 95% of the time or more, they get away with it.
Agreed.
Well, and and I know Jimmy's got a good example. What's the craziest or worst thing you've seen attorneys wear to court?
So very recently, first day of a jury trial, Steve and I are there for jury selection. This was a couple weeks ago in Gwinnett. And a gentleman came in. There was just another case on the calendar that was kind of nothing. And the attorney is wearing just a sport coat and a pair of khakis, which I have an issue with attorneys going to court.
I do too.
Wear a damn suit. Wear a full suit.
And I agree with Steve. Male or female, wear a suit.
Yeah. And and on top of that, he was wearing Air Force Ones. Just like Nike basketball
And
shoes.
they were
Amazing.
brand new and clean and beautiful.
Wait,
I'm sure they were.
Maybe he had a doctor's note and he had a soft soul profile like we did back in the military.
No, because this was a
statement.
This was a 32-year-old goofy white dude.
Can I
Maybe
interject
purpose fit.
something? Can I interject something?
He
Maybe he
did
just
not.
really liked those shoes.
Can I interject something because of what Patty said? If I am walking into a court of law in basketball shoes because a doctor says I have to wear them, which is implausible enough, the first thing I'm going to say to the judge when I walk into the courtroom is, Your Honor, you might notice I'm wearing basketball shoes. Let me tell you why.
Yeah.
And neither Jimmy nor I heard anything like that.
I'm sure you didn't.
No.
And frankly, after he left the courtroom, that was a topic of discussion amongst the attorneys, all of whom were quite impeccably dressed.
Not surprising.
And I'll follow on that. Things I've seen attorneys wear, and I'm a little bit old school because, and I, again, tagging on with what Steve said. Men should wear suits. Well, I think the same standard applies to women. We should wear suits when we go to court, and I can get away with, the dress with the suit.
That's
coat.
my preferable.
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine with that. But what's interesting and what I don't like is when you see female attorneys who don't wear a suit, who wear like a sweater and slacks, or a sweater and a skirt, and
Or a muumuu.
or a muumuu,
Or a leather skirt.
or
Or a mini skirt.
Or that.
And and I guess because I've had female attorneys talk to me in the past and say, well, they get frustrated because like the bailiff or come with their security, they won't realize that they're attorneys, and they are offended by that. And I was like, well, wait a second. Do you dress like an attorney? Because I've never had that issue when I've gone to court.
Me either.
Because I'm always in a suit, and nobody ever is like, "Hey, are you an attorney?" They just automatically assume. So, yeah,
I usually get "you're an attorney, right?"
yeah.
Dude,
Yes,
do you
I
know
am.
how
Thank
many
you.
courthouses I've been waved through security, like outside of
same.
Metro Atlanta, that I've just been waved through because, one, I'm coming in a suit, tie, like I look like an attorney. And yes, I always have a briefcase with me too. But how many times they've just been like, come on, man.
I say it often. It's a vaulted profession. Can't just anybody do it. You got to go to a special school. You got to pass a special exam. You got to follow a ton of ethical rules. People don't generally understand just how ethically managed we are. And I'm going to tell you something. That attorney you talked about with the Air Ones,
Air Force Ones.
Air Force Ones. People, he might have gotten away with it, but people talk about him, and the people are other attorneys and judges, and your reputation follows you. Which is, a point I want to emphasize. One of the most outrageous things I ever saw an attorney wear in court, which was actually funny, was he wore an impeccable gray suit with equally matching gray Crocs. Now, maybe he had a foot problem, but again, you start with, Judge, you might notice I'm wearing
Crocs.
prison shoes, and I'm wearing them because I have this foot issue. And most of the time, judges are going to say, that is okay, Mr. So-and-so, and they're not going to talk trash about you when you leave. But if you don't do that, it really does matter. And I'm going to let you all talk more about the females, because if you ask me, I've seen females wear all kinds of stuff that was just outrageous, and there is a double standard. Many double standards towards females are very unfair, But I mean, I worked in a DA's office one time where if you were a male, you wore a suit. But then most of the women were wearing basically camisoles on top. And, if they took their coats off, they're basically wearing lingerie. But somehow that was okay. And I never understood the logic in that.
Well, I think kind of what it comes down to is just respect for the court, respect for the profession.
Yeah.
Obviously, in our office, if you're not in court, we have a rather relaxed dress code policy. But
That's saying something, yeah.
But if you are in court, it's expected that you will be dressed appropriately.
Yeah, well, let's talk about something different. Zoom court. Because
Thank you.
that has not gone away entirely.
No,
we did
it hasn't.
We did it a lot during COVID. There's some counties that still do a lot of Zoom court, especially for minor things.
I was hoping you'd bring that up.
And I will admit that I have worn gym shorts down low and suit up top.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for the judge on a Zoom conference that says, all of y'all stand up.
Right.
That hasn't happened yet. God, I'm waiting for it. So, Judge, hold on. Judge Benton, if you're out there, next time you see Jimmy Lewis on the screen, say, would everybody stand up?
Now,
let's just see.
Now, look, realistically, if I'm in the office during the week, it's probably going to be a pair of blue jeans that you would see.
Well, okay. So, but what are some of the crazy things that? Because Zoom was kind of the wild, wild west,
my
and
God.
still is. I mean, I have seen people, and this has happened multiple times. Litigants show up on Zoom without a shirt on.
Shirtless, yes, absolutely.
Now, men. I've not seen any women.
I have not either.
I believe it was Judge Glanville who we were on a Zoom calendar for, and a guy is not wearing a shirt. And Judge Glanville's like, sir, go put a shirt on immediately.
Yes.
To which then he picks up whatever device he had and is walking down the hallway, and it's just his gut the whole way down the hallway. And there's 40 people on this calendar, and everyone's going.
Which is exactly why. The best one is Judge Alex Manning. She told a woman to. I think the woman was in a bathroom.
She was in the bathtub.
In the bathroom, and she said, ma'am, get up and get out of there. And she basically straddled the camera on her laptop with nothing on. I mean, that poor woman, not the woman, but Judge Manning, needs PTSD compensation.
Like everybody else on that calendar.
Absolutely.
Well, and I've even seen, and Jimmy jokes about Zoom court, just being in a suit up top. I've seen attorneys that aren't even doing that. I've seen attorneys that have been in Zoom court with just T-shirts on.
Yep.
And I still put a blouse and a suit jacket on.
Agreed.
One time I got surprised by a court appearance that I didn't realize I had, or something happened. I ran into Jimmy's office while he's working, and I grabbed a shirt and a coat off of his rack.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, and I've had it, and I can't for the life of me remember what judge it was because I've been thinking about it while we're sitting here, where we were on a calendar, and it was a trial calendar, and we were going through the calendar, and the judge looked at one of the attorneys and said, "Why aren't you wearing a jacket?" On Zoom.
Good for the judge.
I wish I could remember who it was.
And I think one of those times, I think you actually looked at the 4 or 5 ties hanging there, and you go, "Oh my God, are these really your ties?" And then you just grab the jacket and walk out.
Were they that bad?
Yes,
They're old.
They were.
Only to Steve.
I have a drawer full of ties in my office. Thankfully,
For that reason now?
Yeah, because Jim, you know what? If everybody's listening and you wonder what to buy Jimmy for his birthday or something, buy him a tie.
Don't.
Okay. So, do you all have the conversation with your client before court about what to wear to court?
100%.
Yes.
Always?
Always.
Steve? Always?
Well, my mentor into family law, Kathy Lynch, would do it every time. And I'd like to say I do it every time. There's probably been a few times where I forgot. Most of the time I remember, but one of my favorite stories was actually a criminal case that I had. I had an Army a soldier. He wasn't a veteran. He was actively serving, and he had a cocaine charge, believe it or not. And we'd worked out a very favorable deal for him. And I was not going to leave any stone unturned or run any risk with him. So we get all these catalogs in the mail, and I had, I think, a J. Crew catalog. And no, I take that back. I told him what to wear specifically. And I usually tell my clients, I say, I want you to wear, they always say, do I have to wear a suit and tie? And I usually say no. I want you to wear pants that are not made out of leather or denim, okay, with a belt. I want you to wear a shirt that has long sleeves and a collar. You can wear a tie if you want, but you don't have to. I want you to wear shoes that are made out of leather that are brown or black. And when I said this to this one kid who was probably 23, his mother was there next to him, his response to me was, oh, you want me to dress like a J. Crew model? And, you get all these catalogs at home, and I started bringing in catalogs to the office. I haven't done it lately, but I should probably resurrect this. I just have a stack of them, and I'd circle stuff, and I'd say, this is what I want you to wear. And I've done that in the past, and I've had mothers or wives go, yes, we're going to go out and buy that now.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah.
Well, we used to tell people, wear what you would wear going to church.
Right.
But I don't think that's safe to say
No.
anymore. Because
It's
one, a lot of people don't go to church, and two, a lot of people wear
Outrageous things.
outrageous things to church.
Yeah.
that you probably
Right.
shouldn't wear to court.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well-
don't assume. As the lawyer, don't assume.
Absolutely. Can we go back real fast
Yeah,
to
of
the
course.
outrageous things the attorneys have worn?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I have 100% been in court with a female attorney. We were trying a case we're in the middle of trying a case. We're in front of a male judge in Fulton County. It was Judge Brasher when he was on the bench. And throughout the entirety of the trial, she's wearing a button-up shirt. This button right here, wide open.
Did you
I'm-
say something to her?
I'm pretty sure it was intentional because yes, I did.
I know who you're talking
And
about.
I'm fairly certain it was intentional because then it was,
Oh.
oh no. Please.
Oh,
You
I
knew
can
that
think
was
of
undone.
2 or 3 female attorneys. In fact, I take that back. I can think clearly by name of 3 attorneys that I have seen deliberately wear miniskirts to court. I'm not going to name them. Of
course not.
But I think you all know who they are. And I don't think that it is unintentional. I think between men and women spend a whole lot more time being very deliberate about what they wear and what they do. I don't think it's unintentional.
I don't disagree with that statement.
As we know from college football, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
Well, that's actually from the United States Army, okay, who's been doing that since 1776, okay.
The Army's been cheating?
Cheating?
Yes, that's right. George Washington would agree.
There
If you
you
ain't
go.
cheating, you ain't trying. Right.
All right. Any other crazy stories about what people wear to court?
Well, can I go over what I tell my clients?
Yeah.
Particularly
Please.
female clients.
Yeah.
I mean, male clients, it's generally pretty easy, kind of like what Steve said.
Mm-hmm.
Wear like dress pants, khaki pants, something like that, a button-up shirt or a
Yeah.
polo shirt. You don't have to dress all the way up.
Right.
What I tell my female clients is, I don't want your boobs sticking out. Dress if you're dress like a conservative mother. Cover your chest. You don't have to wear heels. You can wear flats. You don't have to be in a full suit, but cover them up. Don't wear anything super tight. And I generally tell them, I don't feel like I have to tell you this, but I feel like I have to tell you this.
Right. Do you tell them anything else, or is that it?
Usually it's business casual.
Okay.
I don't want your boobs hanging out.
And a lot of times it depends on the client, because I've had some clients
Agreed.
where I've said, okay, I need you to dress frumpy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, I definitely said that. Definitely said
yeah,
that.
Because
yeah.
sometimes, the way they typically dress is way too flashy, way too revealing. And you're like, okay, I want
Right.
you to look frumpy when you go to court.
Pettis says dress frumpy, and they give her that look, and Pettis says dress like me.
Stop
Okay.
it.
No, I'm kidding.
Thanks.
No, I'm kidding. Hey, but in all seriousness,
You want me to kill him for you?
No, not today. Seriously.
You can't say that on the podcast, Alexa. See, now you can't kill him.
That's
Yes.
right. Now
Well,
I'm safe. You
now
better
we know
hope
I
I don't
won't.
die.
Okay.
Okay. No. But in all seriousness, I have one final question for the ladies, and I mean this. I don't think either of you are old enough to have had this happen, but you've heard the stories where other ladies will say, "Don't wear pants in front of this male judge."
I've heard it.
And there are some stories about male judges that have told women, "Don't wear pants in my court." I don't think either of you have experienced
No,
it.
I haven't.
Okay.
I have not, but Haley has.
Haley, who's younger than
Haley,
us.
who's younger than us, it was
What
somewhere,
county?
somewhere in North Georgia.
Don't tell me the judge just said it was up in North Georgia.
Somewhere in North Georgia, and this was before she started working with us, so this was a while back. But yeah, was
Wow.
reprimanded by the judge for wearing a pantsuit.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, now Haley back then probably just listened, but Haley now would be like, no, judge.
Probably.
Haley would push back, and I'd want her to.
Probably, yeah.
Okay.
Patty, let me ask you something. How do you feel about female attorneys who don't wear heels in court?
Oh, that's my pet peeve.
I do. That's why I had to bring it up.
And this is really, so yes, my pet peeve is female attorneys, when you go to court, you wear heels. And that's my pet peeve. And Alexa knows this because I think I told her that probably when she was a young associate, and I've told my female associates that. And it just has to do with, one, it's part of wearing a suit, and two, it's also a power thing, right? You appear and come across as more powerful, more in charge when you wear heels.
Then let me ask you this question. I know you don't aspire to be a judge, but let's pretend magically that you're a judge.
Oh, I'd be a terrible judge.
Well, if you were a judge, having said what you just said now, of course, I don't think you would say that in court to females that came in flats. You might say it to females at coffee meetings and seminars and whatnot, but you as a judge up there, you've got a female in court that's not wearing heels. Are you going to have trouble listening to her arguments? Are you going to prejudice that attorney because of what she's wearing?
If it's just heels,
Mm-hmm.
No.
Okay, what if it's the attorney we talked about earlier that comes in the Air Force One basketball shoes?
I would say something to the attorney. I would say something, if I was a judge, I would say something to the attorneys, male and female. I wouldn't be so harsh as to send them away and make them come back, but I would say, next time you're in my court, please wear a suit and the appropriate shoes.
But would it ding their credibility in their arguments, their legal arguments? Or could you separate that in your mind?
I think that to be candid with you, and I know myself, I think it would.
Okay.
I think it would affect their credibility. Now, would I still listen and be like, okay, let me try to mentally put this aside and listen to what you're saying and give credence to what you're saying? But yeah, it does because, listen, let's be honest. It's a first impression, right? And first impressions do matter. And you think about what is the impression that you want to make on the court on behalf of your client, right? Because you're representing your client. You want the best deal for your client. So don't you want to come in and show the court? And it's not just how you dress, it's how you hold yourself, it's how you approach the court, it's how you talk. Don't you want to set that impression with the court that, listen, we have our case together, we know what we're doing, and oh, by the way, we have a good case, and Judge, you should rule in our favor.
Right. Now, I ask you that question because I don't think many of your law school classmates are on the bench yet.
Right.
Many of mine are,
Sure.
But I'm a few years ahead of you, but not many. So you're getting to the point where your peers are about to be judges. So if you think that way, I would certainly think that they would think that way, and they're the judges. So people who are listening should think, that's kind of like how a lot of judges might see it.
Yeah. But again, I would admit that I would be a terrible judge.
I disagree.
And speaking of judges, before we wrap up, we want to put something out to our listeners, all 5 of them. We are going to do a People's Choice Award for favorite Superior Court judge in Georgia. So
all of Georgia.
Anywhere in Georgia.
Okay.
But it has to be Georgia. State of Georgia, not Republic of Georgia.
I don't know if our listeners go that far and wide yet.
That would be cool. If
it would be pretty cool.
So
if they
we want to hear, and you can email any one of us. You can email us through our website. Who is your favorite Superior Court judge? We'd like to hear from attorneys, pro se people, anybody out there. Parties, anybody that's been in front of a Superior Court judge that they really liked. We want to know, and we'll get your votes, and whoever we get the most votes, we will even try to get them on the podcast so you can hear from them directly.
But there's a loophole. If you are a Georgia Superior Court judge...
You can't vote for yourself.
No. If you are a Georgia Superior Court judge currently serving or in senior status and you want to be on the podcast...
Let us know.
Just let us know. Yeah, we'll bring you on.
Patty, there's one more thing I want to ask you about because... And I don't know if... you guys probably don't kind of feel this, but when you're in court and you're in your suit and you've got your heels on and you see the opposing counsel come in, it's another female attorney. She's not in a suit. She's in flats. Does it make you feel like I just carry myself differently because I'm looking down on you. Like, straight up, I'm looking down on you and I'm going to beat your ass. My case is better, and also I look more put together.
And I have heels on.
And I have heels on. And my power heels.
And my heels go clack, 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 clack. So you know I'm coming.
Yep.
For you. There you go.
Okay.
There it is.
You guys don't get to feel that.
No, we don't.
It's sad for you.
No. We don't get to feel that, but I'll tell you something. When you come in and shine shoes that are nice, a good suit, a good matching shirt and tie, cufflinks if you've got them, looking good, you feel good. Okay.
You feel good, and you feel ready to take on the day, and
That's right.
kick butt in court.
All right. Anything else we need to talk
Look
about?
good, feel good, play good.
There you go.
There you go. Right. Well, we appreciate you joining us, and we really look forward to hearing from you all on who your favorite Georgia Superior Court judge is. Maybe depending on how this is received, we'll look at state court judges next.
And any stories about ridiculous things that you've seen people wear to court. Lawyers Without Billboards. Peace out, y'all.
That's it for this episode of Lawyers Without Billboards. If you found this episode helpful, make sure to follow and subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. For more resources or to get in touch with us, visit shewmakerandlewis.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.